Hundreds of thousands of players are going to flock to the game when the last update comes. This will mark what I believe to be the apex of Granblue Fantasy Relink, and I hope that a lot of people that would have loved playing the game and didn't get to play the game bought the game because of this video. Welcome everyone. First and foremost, there will be some small spoilers. Now, I've been struggling to find some games that have grabbed me as hard as this one has. The combos, the choices, the aesthetics, and difficulty were just spot on. And while no game is without its issues, this one's very unique. Comparing the action and combo style of Monster Hunter with elements of JRPG content, it really is just the best of both worlds. While the game could have more higher difficulty tiers of play, or a better variety of builds, I think right now is absolutely the best time to play Granblue Fantasy Relink. After 400 hours into the game, I can confidently say that I really wish there was more to the game, and I know I'm not alone in that. There is plenty I could grind for, but unlike Monster Hunter, the thing that this game lacks is a reason to grind for it past. After you have built a character as best as you could possibly build them, you have essentially built every character as best as they could possibly be built, with some tweaks here and there. Now, the drop rates have massively increased since the game's fruition, so the amount that you have to grind is drastically lower. I would honestly recommend Granblue Fantasy to everyone that liked either Monster Hunter or Genshin Impact. Now, the good thing about this, as opposed to Genshin Impact, is there's really no microtransactions. They have a couple bit, just like Monster Hunter, but it's nothing like a gacha game. Now, if you've already picked up the game and you've played it before, some of this stuff you will have heard, and other stuff in the video will probably help you a little bit, especially if you haven't gotten to the DLC contents yet. And in this video, I'm going to tell you the fastest way to start from the beginning to get to in-game content and what to farm for at in-game so you don't waste a whole bunch of time. First, I definitely want to go over what not to do so you don't do it. So acquiring crewmates in this game, you basically purchase their crewmate card from Sierra's knickknack shops. The lesson here is do not acquire every character in the game right away. So everyone in the game has a terminus weapon. Narmaya's is the Amano Hebikiri. The terminus weapon is the ultimate weapon for the character. You will actually get that weapon from this quest, The Tale to Bahamut's Rage. It is close to the end of Proud Mode, so you have to basically beat everything before you get to it. All of Proud Mode is essentially just the in-game quests. Now, all of these weapons are drops, the ones on the right side with the check marks on them. The quest essentially has a 20% drop chance rate for each weapon for a character you haven't acquired yet. So if you don't have the weapon yet and you don't have the character yet, you can't get the weapon. The reason this is important is if you have a character that you know you want to main first, only get them and unlock the rest as you acquire the terminus weapons for the characters that you care about. I doubt anyone will be excited about 100%ing the game, but you might fall in love with the game in a true aspect, and that may be a goal of yours, but it takes a long time. So there's 20 characters. So there's 19 characters that you can acquire the terminus weapon for. So at a 5% drop rates, it's roughly 100 times that you have to fight Bahamut, which is better than what it used to be. So there are two characters exempt from this rule. It's Siphon and Twayan. These characters are the newest from the new DLC, and if you watch this video after Sandalphon, there will probably be 3. These characters, you can either spend $5 for them in the Steam store for, or you can go to the quest Lockhorns whenever you get it unlocked, and you can grind this quest until you get however much of them you want. The terminus versions of the weapons for these two characters are actually going to be sigils, so you don't have to worry about their terminus weapons in the Tale of Bahamut's Rage. So the Behemoth and a quest, The Final Vision, which you'll fight a man named Lucilius, and these two quests are essentially the quests that you want to grind for at the end of the game. There are some other quests that you need to do, but these are going to be the mainstay of the quests that you have to grind for. So don't grind every quest. A lot of quests are made obsolete later in the game, so whenever you need a material, you'll get more of it from a quest that's later in the game. So your ultimate goal is to get to Proud Mode, so whatever quests you need to get to Proud Mode, that's the quest you should be doing. Now, sometimes you're going to need sigils, and you actually will hit a roadblock in the game, and the roadblock is going to just be, it's going to be a mix of a lack of skill and a lack of equipment. If you're trying to progress quickly, hop in my Discord and see if anyone wants to help you progress through the game. We don't mind, just make sure that your build is built for survival and debuffs. Don't focus too much on damage, really, because you won't be doing enough of it. Next, I'm going to go over some general rules when playing the game so that you can save a lot of time and frustration playing the game. So I will go over a concept called damage cap, and damage cap is essentially every attack has a damage cap on it to where you can't go past the amount of damage that you could do with the attack. Now, there are sigils called damage cap sigils, and also alpha, beta, and gamma that you get from Lucilius, but the damage cap sigils you're going to need, but the drop rates have been increased, so it's not that bad anymore. So whenever I'm firing the arrow here, you'll see a golden strike through in the number itself. Now, the golden strike through is actually telling you that you are at your damage cap. The 2 exclamation points are signifying a critical hit. And if you see different numbers happening from the same attack, that means you're not at your damage cap. Now, another general rule is that attacks that buff the attack skill, like attack 40% up, is relatively useless in Granblue whenever you're hitting your damage cap, because it doesn't break the damage cap barrier, so you're not actually doing any more damage. It's sort of helpful in Skybound Arts and SBAs. Essentially, if you are damage cap, don't run an attack skill. Now, another guideline is going to be a sigil called Potion Hoarder. So here I have a Potion Hoarder on a damage cap. Potion Hoarder is essential in the game. This is for revivals mostly. So you have potions that revive you instead of you using something called a critical gauge. There's no reason to treat your critical gauge like water in a desert. Run Potion Hoarder, and if you find yourself dying more times than not, look for survival sigils. Now, the last guideline is to try your best to hit your damage cap. This should actually be a priority on your character. If you're not hitting your damage cap, equip more attack sigils. I have a very good guide on typical builds before Lucilius. Third, if you're having issues matchmaking online, this is for a couple reasons. One, if you try to specifically look for quests and people that are doing the quests online by just clicking on a quest and going into an open matchmaking setting, you're probably not going to find any matchmaking, and this is for a couple of reasons. One, a lot of people kind of stop playing the game because they beat it already, so the only people to match with are in Asia. So really, you should go to search for an online session. If you're not in proud mode, just look for people that are looking at quests not in proud mode, and then there should be a fair amount of people that are looking for matchmaking. But if you look for specifics inside of the matchmaking, it'll be easier to find people to play with. Now, another thing you can do is go into your Steam, go to settings, go into downloads, and then change the download region to Japan, probably. This will move your server to Asia. You may experience a little bit of ping, but since it's not PvP, you'll be fine. You'll be fine, and you'll be able to matchmake with people way easier. Alternatively, you can hop in my Discord. Now, another thing is a lot of people neglected their AIs. This causes a lot of problems when you're playing the game, and it really feels like your AIs aren't that good if you don't build them right. I will say the 2 best AIs in the game are actually going to be Wagon and Rack. This is just because they're ranged, and the AI, whenever the AI is controlling them, they auto dodge so they don't get hit. So if you just build them right as AIs, they'll do better than any other AI. Essentially, every range character is better than not every range character. This isn't a blanket statement, but it's good enough to build your party knowing this. But at the end of the day, you should just be playing stuff that you like anyway, because games are supposed to be fun. Another thing to be aware of is dealing damage. Not every character in the game is best at dealing damage. You would think that they would have balanced out the characters better, but they didn't really. Some characters just aren't that great at dealing damage, and some characters seem way too good. If I was to suggest 2 characters to take to in-game and build them as best as possible, it's actually going to be Jita, or the Captain, and Io. Now, this simply just comes down to versatility. As far as damage, they're both kind of mid, but Io does way more damage than the Captain. Except right now, but that's because of a bug. The Captain just has an ability for every situation, and Io just kind of slaps, but it's easier to play Io. I am also biased to Io. Now, the whole reason I made the video is because right now, I truly do believe right now is the best time to play Granblue Fantasy. This is due to Sandalphin's pack being updated at the end of this month, and this comes with a lot of material and a new character. This will most likely be the last content update for Granblue for either a very long time or forever. Due to this being the case, about a week before and a week after, people are going to start playing the game more, and possibly for the last time. So I say this is the best time to play Granblue Fantasy because this is essentially the easiest time that you'll have to play with other people. Now, if that's not important to you, then it's not important to you. But most people do think that playing video games with their friends is more fun. After the release of the content and everyone acquires the best stuff from the game, people will most likely stop playing the game, and the game will have a limited lifespan after that. Hundreds of thousands of players are going to flock to the game when the last update comes. This will mark what I believe to be the apex of Granblue Fantasy Relink, and I hope that a lot of people that would have loved playing the game and didn't get to play the game bought the game because of this video. I have lots of guides on my channel, so if you need any help playing the game, leveling, or getting there as fast as possible, just comment on the video and I'll tell you which guides are the best ones to watch for you. And I do plan on making a farming guide after Sandalphon Cup. The reason I'm not going to make one now after Behemoth is because everything's just going to change again after Sandalphon. Tell me why you didn't like it if you didn't like it so I can make it better in the next one. Peace out!